Hello and welcome in. I know as always in 2026, as we look ahead, we're also very excited about the 2025 season that's coming up for the Georgia Bulldogs. As always during the summertime when it's talking season, a lot of things gets focused down into the recruits that are going to be signing their national letter of intent coming this December. And those are the kids who are uprising seniors that hadn't even played a senior down yet this year. And we're looking also to the 2025 group as well, to see who's going to be our new leaders this year for the Georgia Bulldogs. My name is Chris Hayes, and you have reached me at Coach Hayes Hudl. And today what I wanted to do was to give you some insights on some breakdowns of kids that are going to be a part of that 2026 class. There's a lot of them to talk about, 30 almost in total at this current point in time, so I couldn't put them all on the video, but I wanted to basically give you some insight on some of the ones that I think will be up and rising. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments below as you watch the video, because I would love to be able to give you what you want and to be able to show you some more insight to those that we are evaluating and looking at from a UGA standpoint. I'm excited for what Coach Smart is doing, as he's going to have, again, another top 3, top 2 in the class, could be top 1, depending on what happens between now and December. But a lot of things to talk about, to be excited about the new prospects, the future of UGA football, and obviously this new season that we're going into this year. So stay tuned. I look forward to talking with you further. Go Dogs.
Let's go. Welcome to the main event. Applying pressure, but I promise I ain't make it then. In their heads, living free, I ain't paying brand. Wake up in the AM, making cheese like Mercedes Benz. Whoa, yeah, please don't take offense. It isn't you, I'm just not interested in making friends. My biggest fear is finding out that this came and went. So go ahead, but I'm staying in. Okay.
This is Shadarius Toodel. He is a linebacker that is committed right now currently to Auburn, but he was at the scavenger hunt this weekend at the University of Georgia, and I think we really impressed him. Hopefully he's not coming down off too big of a high, because I know that we obviously put a big impression on him anyway. There's no doubt that we are looking at longer, rangier type linebacker fits, because this guy fits that profile, along with another one that I'm very high on in Nick Abrams. But almost have sort of that Chris Cole look to him. Very long-armed, very rangy-looking kid. You know, I've got here on my stats, he's at 6'3", roughly around 215 pounds. He is out of the Mobile, Alabama area, so obviously I could see his connections to an Alabama school. But right now, Georgia made a big impression on him this weekend. You know, when I watch him on film, like I said, having that long body, he definitely has an eye for the football. He tends to see the flow very well. His clouded clear fits are really nice. It takes him to the play without lost footwork. Like I said, because he does have the long body, he does have the tendency to work a little extra hard to punch press blocks, and will try to avoid and use his speed to redirect back over the top to the play, because that sometimes can take him out of the play. I'm impressed with his football IQ. You can tell he communicates really well. And again, not afraid of contact, but at the linebacker position, if you shy away from contact linebacker position, you're playing the wrong position anyway. But he does a really good job of his pursuit angles and working, and he has relentless pursuit. He doesn't tend to waste any motion when he is moving to the football. Here he gets lost in space, but he comes back to make the play right here. I would like to see his eye discipline get a little bit better, but I think that'll happen going into his senior year, something that'll be better for him as we move forward. If he does decide, eventually to come to Georgia and maybe decommit from them old Auburn guys out there, I think that looking at some more notes here, he does play with a high hat at times, so that does tend to work. So you can see right there how hard he had to work through all that trash to get to the ball carrier. That's something he'll get better at as he gets older, to work punch and press through that, to bubble the gap instead of running around the gap to try to avoid the block. I think his zone drop work, you don't see him really in man covering guys out of the backfield in man, but his zone drops look really good. And he closes to the football very well. Seems to be a very good tackler too. Love to see him wrap up and do good things. So again, this is Shadarius Toodel. Coach Smart and crew continue to find kids that I can't believe that this kid is just ranked if I want to say he's 24th in the state of Georgia and 35th in the wide receiver core for 2026 recruits. He's out of Cambridge High School. I believe that's out of the Milton, Georgia area. And watching him on film, he's just now come onto my radar over the last few weeks of people who have been talking about him. And watching him on film, I'm thinking right now he kind of reminds me of what I saw when I watched C.J. Wiley. He doesn't comp to C.J. Wiley at all. But what I'm trying to get at is that I really like just his skills specifically as a junior going into his senior year and what he has on tape already in showing the fact that he has all the specs you want to see from a wide receiver. He has very solid hands. He's fluid in phase with the ball when he has it in hand. He doesn't look like someone who's just fast but can't cut. You know, he's only about 6'1", 175 pounds. The only thing this kid really needs is to add probably about another 5 to 10 pounds of just muscle weight, but obviously not lose any speed. I mean, this catch right here against Maris, I mean, this is one of one, guys. The ability to control his body in space and somehow come down with a football right here is unbelievable. And that's what makes him, to me, one of the best or better wide receiver prospects that I've seen on film that Georgia's been looking at since I saw C.J. Wiley on film last year. He has different gears. He's very smooth in transition with all of his routes on the route tree. I noticed that I see him catching the shallows coming across the middle, catches the post. He works right here a sail route from the number one receiver side away from trips. You know, you can see right here, I think he's really understanding of how to position his body in space to separate from the defender like he does here. And he's very strong and willful with the football. Like right here, coming across from the top side, he's going to catch it on the mesh route and watch him get north and south and split that. That's natural instinct that a lot of wide receivers don't have the ability to do. Again, with strength and time, he will get stronger in that. But, you know, catching the deep ball here on the 9 route and see how he positions himself away and then works to try to get away from the DB. I call it, you know, with bait and switch when you look at tactical endeavors, when you see someone bait somebody and run away and bring somebody in to have that second person ready. I call it bait and switch, where he baits defensive backs to think he's not getting the football, and then he switches gears. He has 2-3 different gears that he's got in his speed totality. Here against Marist again, just running the post route, running right by that corner. Great throw by the quarterback too, but still, that's the different gears. That corner thought he was in phase with him, and he just left him. So, you know, I see all the different things. He's not just running slants. He's not just running fast screens. He's not running slot fades. He's not running just the verticals. He's showing you the complete route tree here off of this gap scheme action. I love this Fox play they run off the fast screen look. I mean, just being able to go up and get the football the way he does. So I see with him being right now considered a 4-star. I know he's been offered by Georgia, and I think he had a weekend this past week for an official visit. I really think that Georgia wants him heavily. I think he's going to fit more of the mentality of a slot at the University of Georgia because of his height. But as time goes on, I really do think that he is going to be looking at, if he plays the outside, he would play the Z position, or possibly, you know, like I said, at the slot position with his height and his speed and his agility. But another good find by the University of Georgia football program, the recruiting program, Coach Coley doing work again. And this is a guy that, believe it or not very high on the rivals prospects on the On3. I think he has a composite rating right now just a little bit over 90. But I do think as time goes on, and Georgia has offered him now, if he commits to the University of Georgia, I definitely see his rankings continue to grow as we move into his senior season. Because if he produces what he just did on junior tape and does that for a senior year as well, I'm definitely going to see his recruiting rankings improve. But another good find for the University of Georgia. This is Nick Abrams II, and it was here for the scavenger hunt weekend. And I think, again, we impressed him heavily. Guys, Glenn Schuman and Kirby Smart and staff are going after these guys that are rangy looking, man. They are 6'2 to 6'3. This guy's about 6'2. I think they've got him listed at 215. But again, I see the same body type that I just saw in looking at Shadarius Toodel. And I'm digging what we're going after right here, because you've got guys that are going to be able to come in and play that nickel position and man-to-man stuff on third down situations. I mean, I just sit there and see remnants of Chris Cole type. And, you know, that's something that we saw what Chris Cole did this past year and what he's going to be contributing now in his second year. I see these exact same traits in these two linebackers that I've been looking and evaluating. Again, he's got a long body with long arms. His punch and press technique to me is a lot better than Shadarius's is. He has relentless pursuit of the football, but at the linebacker position, you want that. Great tackler in space. Again, you definitely want that from a good inside linebacker position. He has really good cloudy clear fits to zone and to gap scheme, both. I see everything that he's shown on film. He does a great job of securing his position and not running around blocks and really getting and squeezing to the football, which is good to see in a junior linebacker film going into his senior year. Closing speed to pursue the football and never gives up on the play. You got to love that. That's something that I would put on film all day long and twice on Sunday, is that you want to show the ability to never give up on a play and that you have relentless pursuit to the football. They even showing him on the split action here to catch the ball out of the backfield and score. I like that when you show offensive side. Here he is on special teams. Part of my notes as well, because of his body type, plays high at times, but always pushes to find work. And that's going to be something that he'll get better at as he gets to Georgia. They'll teach him how to not play high. Good job right there, coming back and making the tackle. He'll work on getting lower because, like I said, in high school, he's going to have guys that are going to be underneath him because of how long and rangy he is. But, you can't give up his willpower of wanting to get to the football. I love his aggressive behavior. I put his cover skills are adequate in both zone and man coverage. He does actually have two of those in here. He has one on man coverage and one in zone. He probably needs to put more of that if he can do that, just to show, because that to me is more adequate of what he'd be doing at the University of Georgia, especially to be able to get on third down plays. He's going to have to learn to use his body to leverage run blockers. That's something you learn as you get older. It's not something that comes right out of the gate to you. I think he's a great fit for Coach Smart and staff because, again, he fits that prototypical player that they're looking for in that inside linebacker position. So, again, this is Nick Abrams, someone I'm highly impressed with, along with all the linebacking core that we've seen so far coming to the University of Georgia. He's just going to be another addition to a great linebacker room and someone I think we're going to be very excited to see in the near future for the University of Georgia. He continues to impress me how he works to, I guess to say he finds work. He's never not busy, like right there in zone, coming back inside to help on the tackle. That's something you love and see in secondary pursuit. Looks like a scrimmage game here. So right out of the gate, see how he turns and pursues to the football, ends up making the tackle right there, causing the fumble. Okay, who we're watching on clips today, this is Justice Fitzpatrick. He is the younger brother of Minkah Fitzpatrick, who played at Alabama, and he is currently committed to the University of Georgia as a cornerback, defensive back, and we're going to look at the specifics. He's out of St. Thomas Aquinas, which is down in the Fort Lauderdale area, and I'd tell you a quick story about them because when I first started coaching, we did a 7-on-7 tournament down with our kids in Tampa, and it was at St. Leo College, and this was my first taste of St. Thomas Aquinas. I had in my linebacker groups, which is what I was coaching individually that year, I had a kid and all of them had tape, on their helmet. And the kid's name at my linebacker position was, his last name on his helmet was Shula. And of course, first thing I said, "Are you Ken?" He said, "Yes, sir. Don Shula is my granddaddy." So he was the son of Dave Shula with the Cincinnati Bengals. He is now currently the defensive coordinator, I believe, with the Los Angeles Rams. So it's really cool how the connection of all these things kind of work together, to think that the first kid that I worked with from St. Thomas Aquinas is now, affiliated in the NFL and obviously affiliated with a very predominant name. Going to Justice Fitzpatrick, though, looking at him at cornerback, I think he fits all the specs that you want to see. He's about 180 pounds, about around 6'1". St. Thomas Aquinas likes to run what's called two trap, which he does a really good job of trapping the quarterback to throw the deep route, because he sits off the flat very well because he can cover ground. He does have very long legs, and I think his hips are really good for the status of him as a junior with his tape. I know one thing, because of the fact that they run a lot of two trap, it's because of the fact that you have corners that are physical. And that's what Coach Smart and Coach Schuman and their defensive staff want, is that you want corners that are physical in the passing game. What I noticed in his man-off, man-on techniques, does a really good job of staying on hip. Watch him squeeze his butt to the sideline and keep himself between him and the ball and deflecting that away. Very nice pass breakup right there. But like I said, to me, his hips are really good. I don't see any stiffness in them whatsoever. Like I said, I love how he traps people in thinking he's man-off. Or man on, and then goes man off, and then really works to close on the hip to knock passes down. He shows very good array of defensive back footage from his film. Basically, him tackling in space in both zone and man, him being able to come up and close to the offensive receiver and be able to get a PBU. Right here, look at this. He's two trapping, baited him to throw the deep route and got back over the top of it, which is perfect what you want to see. Right here, cover two trap, comes up, makes the play as a flat defender. He's a flat force defender when you're in two trap. He's down here on the bottom in a man-off technique. He's looking dead at him, so I know he's man. He's not in zone. If right now, he's going to get better right here on this play to be able to make that pick one day where he actually accelerates through that ball and catches it. But, being a junior, I can understand that. He does a good job right here of staying home, has to come back and redirect, thank goodness, and takes a play that went one way and ends up making a play on the backside to it. But, because of his style and his savvy around the ball carrier, doesn't ever miss a tackle from what it seems. Does a really good job with a kid in space to be able to bring somebody down just like that right there. I really I'm going to run this back and play it again because I want to go over some of this earlier tape that he has here too. Here's the bait on the two trap where he comes up and then falls back and makes the pick. But like I said, St. Thomas Aquinas uses him in a way that I think that Georgia likes to see, because I don't think we run as much two trap, but we do run things to one side. We'll run cover 5, cover 6, and on one side of the field you have half defenders, and then you have on the other side quarters, and depends on whether you're boundary. I see him being a boundary type corner instead of a field corner because of his physical play as a corner. So it comes down to it that everybody's going to want to make comparables to what Minkah Fitzpatrick did at Alabama and how, what a good football player he was. Justice is his own player. I see him as a junior going into his senior year. He's playing in a high level of competition against a lot of brands across the United States. St. Thomas Aquinas is one of those commodities that you see. I believe it's a Catholic school out of Fort Lauderdale. They play nationally all over the place, and he's playing against supreme competition. But when it comes down to it, Coach Smart and group want to have a physical corner that's going to be hands-on with a receiver, is going to manhandle a receiver, but also be able to come up and be savvy to make tackles in space. But also, too, in pass coverages, being able to do the little things. His mental IQ really looks really good from the standpoint of baiting quarterbacks into throwing that deep route like he did right there. That's why you call it a two trap. You think that the high on the high-low is open, and then all of a sudden the corner bails back on it. Right here, he's just a benefactor of a blocked field goal attempt, it looks like right there. I do like the fact that he showed in one of his pieces of tape where he's the kickoff returner, where you can actually see his speed. I think that's something that's very important to see as well, because it just really shows his athleticism. But I just like the way he carries himself. He doesn't pass interfere, uses his body very well in space, and does a great job of, right here, you just can't coach. You can coach this, but there's just the natural ability that he brings as well that I really like to see. So Justice Fitzpatrick out of St. Thomas Aquinas, looking forward to seeing him as he grows and continues into his senior year. I think he just locked down his recruiting, so he is definitely ready to be a dog, and we're ready to see him in Athens. So good luck to you, Justice. I hope your recruiting goes well, and hopefully we see him in the red and black come next fall. This new commit we just got this past week that extended our 6 of 6 before James Johnson made it 7 of 7 all week long. We have Chace Calicut out of North Shore Senior High School. This is out of Houston, Texas area. And if you've got a guy that's ready to plug and play right now, I really do think, I want to say this first, this kid is special. And where he is spec-wise right now at the safety position, I know that Georgia platformed him to possibly play corner. I'm going to show you why he could play the corner position as well, because as a junior in high school, I find him to be one of the most gifted athletes I've ever seen because of his strong lower body, which allows him to have quick hips with quick rotation. It shows him here covering the number 2 and the number 3 receivers, which means that he's working basically as the safety with this high school, but he has a linebacker instinct to hit, but it has the coverage skills of a DB, but also the aggressiveness you want to see out of a safety, like right here. I mean, he decleats people when he hits them. He's going to learn to get better in technique to obviously take on larger receivers that he's got to cover, but he doesn't ever panic. Like every time that he has the ability where someone's got him beat on the cut, he is able to recover very well. I mean, just right here in space and to be able to come up and make this tackle is unreal. But as a junior in high school, I'm going to go ahead and say it now, he is going to be a special athlete that we will probably see quicker than later when he gets to Georgia. I just think he is already looks like a senior out here with his junior highlight tape. There's not a lot of weaknesses that I see from him other than being a little high sometimes in his cut points, gets his eyes caught in the backfield a little bit, but his recovery rate allows him to take care of any type of receiver route that gets him out of position. Look at his tackling ability, man, from a safety spot. I mean, there's never an issue where he won't come up and just lay the lumber and decleat people and make you not like him. I think he's around 6'3", but I think he's a little taller than 6'3". He looks like he is ready to play in the SEC right now. A 200-pound, 6'3" safety or corner with strong hips, strong legs. And the reason why I know he's got strong hips and strong legs is because of how he tackles and because of how he's able to recover. Here's the play I'm talking about. This is a cover 2 trap where he think you look like he's baiting. He comes up, has the flat force, and comes up and makes the tackle. That's what Coach Smart and staff for the defense want out of that, because when you have a corner that can do that right there, but also have those kind of cover skills and play the boundary corner and bring him off the edge on corner blitzes like we saw, like with Daylen Everette last year against Texas, that's what you want to see out of someone like this. So I'm excited about a guy that I had not watched a lot of film on, to be quite honest with you, and have come in just here lately and been able to see what he is and what he provides. If he stays committed to the University of Georgia, which I think he is, because listening to his, interview after he committed, he really, truly wants to be coached up. He doesn't want to be coddled out there. He wants to improve. He wants to grow, and he wants to be NFL ready. And Coach Smart and staff are going to make him NFL ready, and he knows that. So it's really very important over this recruiting cycle as he moves into his senior year. I mean, all he's got to do is just create a little more tape. Everything that he shows on junior tape to me is impressive in his coverage skills, in his running skills in zone, his tackling ability, his ability to move his, feet and hips and his hip turns and how he comes out of his cuts is just impressive. Plus his size and his frame just provides just a beautiful framework for him as a safety position or corner position, any defensive back position. I know this football program utilizes him as both a corner, a safety, and he can come downhill and work as a linebacker as well. This is Tyreek Boogie Green from Buford High School, 5'10", 195-pound athlete. Buford over the last probably, I'd say, decade, a lot of Georgia fans have felt like Buford, which is a highly prolific program. I know from experience playing Calhoun as many different times as they did in the state championship, semifinals, whatever it was. Like I said, just having a very good program, have some storied players for them with a lot of success over the years when Jess Simpson was there during those times when I was coaching. So I look at Buford and I look at Tyreek and I look at his ability to play as an athlete. I know UGA is recruiting him as a safety. And I think because of his size and his frame, first off, he's highly athletic, which is great to see because he's, like I said, in the category as an athlete for classification purposes. But we are looking at him just like for that reason right there as a safety that I think was going to probably end up migrating to either the strong safety position or a nickel position because of his aggressiveness downhill. He really strikes when he comes downhill to attack the run. Now, a lot of his junior tape is showing just basic coverage. I think he only has a couple of plays from his junior tape where he's actually showing his tackling ability, which is like right here. But he arrives in a bad mood with bad intentions, very aggressive, seems to be a good tackler. But what I notice about him is his frame. He has a very strong frame. His lower body is very strong, and you can tell he brings that when he makes his tackles, and that's something you definitely want at that safety position, especially strong safety, who is a run support defender, as well as a nickel who is also a run support defender, similar to what Tyke Smith did for us, who's now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I just like the simple fact watching him athletically run the football as a running back like you see here. I mean, he has a very good ability to run the football too, and you can see why they use him on offense. And, you know, with him as a junior tape, he doesn't have a ton of defensive plays on his Hudl. He actually has more offensive plays on his Hudl than he does defense. But, you know, when you're watching this, you have to see his athletic ability, and this is something that he's obviously shown in camp from the coaching staff and what they've been able to see from him. But, you know, I like just seeing everything, you know, from special teams being a punt returner. I think this gets called back actually on a clip right here. Perfect timing when you get this. Watch all them flags fly. But, you know, just watching his outright speed, he tends to run a little high. And that may be the reason why from a running back position, we're not looking at him offensively. You know, it's hard to sit here and critique just the very simplistics of what he does offensively. But defensively, he fits a lot of those specs you want to see, from his coverage skills to his, you know, his thumper. You know, he wants to hit you. He's aggressive. He's not scared of contact, obviously, as you can see here, running and splitting all these guys on offense. That, believe it or not, running backs, if they cower from that kind of stuff, they will do that. And he fits the specs of a very good athlete that we can mold in the safety position. There's 9 balls, I think, coming right here on the toss sweep. Yeah, because back on safety. But, you know, I sit here and I think to myself, as always, they have seen something on his film, on his tape, obviously in his recruiting and what he does playing, for his ability to become a very good safety for the Georgia football program. Laying the wood right there, that's nice. Taking the hat to him. The one thing I do see as a weakness, he's got to learn his tracks as a safety, because I know this is a double pass right here, so you can see him redirect, but his ability to get there is phenomenal. I do see when he's on the number 2 receiver, like he is right here, he's split. He gets his cushion broke, and he's able to recover this and make the pick, but he's got to learn to turn his hips quicker than that, because SEC receivers are going to beat that. And that's something he's going to have to learn to do better. Show on senior film, obviously more coverage skills to the number 2 receiver, which I think that's what he's probably going to be doing defensively for Buford in his senior year. So, you know, all the things that you want to see from a safety position: aggressiveness, a thumper, very fast, very athletic, very strong, willingness to come up and make tackles from that second and third level, is going to give us the potential to have another quality safety player for the University of Georgia and Kirby Smart's defense. All right, this is Kaden Prothro. He has not committed to the University of Georgia, but is considered crystal ball to be a University of Georgia commit on his commitment date of July the 12th. Hopefully he will. 6'6", 210 pounds, out of Bowden, Georgia. That's in Carrollton, Georgia. I remember back in the days of Bowden running the full house backfield with Montgomery at quarterback, who ended up going to Georgia, and a guy by the name of Jerome Shepard, who was an absolute speedster during my time in 1992. We played Bowden a lot growing up from the Georgia Bulldog era. So I know this place very well. I know this field very well for Bowden. But, you know, looking at their team now, I notice what I see first off from him. We were recruiting him as a tight end, but I'm going to tell you this. If he plays any kind of tight end position for us, it's going to be a hybrid tight end, because to me, what he fits more the profile of is an X receiver right now. Being at 6'6", probably will, I say he could gain about 5-10 more pounds and still carry it pretty well, whether he's at 215 or 220. But I think the one thing that he's going to have to work on through his senior film is just working on showing more blocking if we are recruiting him as a Y, because right now I would almost think that we're recruiting him as an X receiver than a tight end position. But regardless, he is an athlete who is unmatchable in high school because of his size and his athletic ability. Right here, you do get a block. going downfield, which is nice that he puts on film. But like I said, everything that you notice off of what he does is basically set up. I like that he uses his man-to-man technique, and we just don't see necessarily the 50-50 ball as all we see like we do right here. He does show on film some other plays as well. I think right here we get an intermediate out route off of this. Very good hands, solid hands, large body. So obviously he's going to create a mismatch in space. There he's running a corner route to the back pylon. It's a good route right there and a good catch, even though the kid was on him pretty well. Here's another good spot in space. We're showing him blocking downfield. They got to see those kind of things and obviously to play. But, when I sit here and look at him, I'm really excited about what I see on film from him because, he's one of those kind of kids to me that comes in and kind of ignites your recruiting table, because University of Georgia right now, just as always, sits in that normal spot of around, between 5 and 10. And it seems like through the month of July, they heat up. And after the dead period, we see all these commits. And what's happening now is we're seeing more of those commits happen earlier. And something that I really like to see because of these earlier commits is that sort of sets up some momentum. But, with Kaden Prothro out of Bowden, I really think that we get a gem in this guy. I really think we see more of him at receiver than we do at tight end. He moves very well. I would love to see him get a little stronger in his lower body. That's where he actually could gain his weight at, to get a little heavier in the ass, because that'll make him harder to even tackle when it comes to playing in SEC football. But you can already see his speed and his agility at 6'6", moving that way. So I wouldn't doubt it if eventually we do see him playing the X receiver position as he moves up to the college ranks, because he definitely fits the dimensions and the specs of what you want to see out of that kind of guy. But definitely can help out in the run game, the extension of the run game with passing and obviously fast screens and things of that nature as well, because he's a very aggressive kid and he's got good hands and he's he's not afraid of contact. So Kaden Prothro out of Bowden, Georgia, hopefully will be a UGA commit on July the 12th on his commitment date. So we'll be looking forward to seeing what we get out of Kaden on that date. But just a solid player and a solid UGA commit, hopefully one day. As I look at the future leaders for the 2025 team, it's obvious that we have to look at the specific position groups that would come across the board. Obviously, at the quarterback position, we're looking to see Gunnar Stockton to be that leader that we want to see this year. At the running back position, Nate Frazier has obviously stepped up, and we definitely would like to see what Roderick Robinson II can do coming back from injury as well. With Chauncey Bowens, I'm sure wanting to have the opportunity to get out there on the field as well. He had a very good spring and looked really good in the spring game. When you look at the offensive line, tell you honest truth, all 5 of them need to step up. I know Drew Bobo at the helm taking over for Jared Wilson is going to be a big deal, but across the board, when you look at the other 4 that we have coming back, they all have very much experienced playing time and should show some solidarity as this season progresses, considering the downside of what we saw last year from them. When you look at the receiver core, it could be anyone, but Dylan Bell, being the guy that's the tenured guy on the wide receiver core, is going to be the glue that holds everybody together. And I do think with all that we brought in through the transfer portal and the kids that have grown over the last 2 years, our wide receiver crew is going to look a lot different than what we've been used to seeing over the past couple of years, even through the Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers years, because of what they brought to the team in their own respective abilities and play style. So, I think that's going to be something that we got to take a look at from a Noah Thomas, Colby Young standpoint. Very long, tall kids that are going to be playing a lot of 50-50 ball, to a Zachariah Branch that fits more of that modality of what we saw with Ladd McConkey in that slot, and being able to be shifty and move on number 2s with nickels and safeties covering him, to see his plan and progression as he moves through this year. But he also has to get used to the offense too. So a lot of excitement to see on that regard as well. Tight end, Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky have to lead a very talented group of tight ends. Man, Todd Hartley doing a phenomenal job as well, and something I'm really excited about to see how these guys grow from Rettel. And you've got Heinrich that are in there as well, along with the new ones that they just got in Ethan Barbour and Elias Williams. I mean, just unbelievable talent at the tight end position. Todd Hartley just continues to impress me, and then of course what he got this year as well. So for the 2026 class, on the defensive side of the ball, you don't go past any further than Kristen Miller, but also Xavier McLeod, I think, will have a lot to say about this year on the defensive line. But it's going to be nice to see kids step up like Joseph Jonah, and you'll see what Gabe Harris can do in the absence of Damon Wilson leaving. At linebacker, can't go past C.J. Allen and what Raylan Wilson are going to bring to the team, backed up by a very talented duo in Justin Williams and Chris Cole. You look at the defensive secondary, the one guy that has to be the staple back there is Daylen Everette. We know that we're going to have a strong safety group that could be a mixture of transfer portal kids to kids that we would like to see, step up, like a Janelle Aguero. Could it be a Zion Branch? We don't know. But still, nonetheless, I'm very excited about the opportunity to see all of these new guys that are going to be at that safety position opposite of KJ Bolden, who, as a sophomore coming in, needs to also help leverage that senior Daylen Everette in the leadership role and helping him out in that process too. So just a lot of exciting things to see across the board. But like I said, it's always go Dogs, and look forward to this 2025 season.